Hello everybody, it is Wednesday the 3rd of August. I got a message from my friend yesterday and I wasn't even looking at it. I didn't even want to look at it because I really wanted to get some rest, but I kind of caught images of horns and somewhere that Moses was depicted with two horns and that we really must rethink the Bible. And hell, I haven't slept all night. So it's morning now, and this is what I've come up with. Right. Yes, absolutely, we must rethink the Bible. It is not what we are being taught in church. The Bible is an occult, esoteric text. Yeah. They used imagery to convey a meaning. So in that it is occult, hidden. The meaning is hidden in the image. And it is esoteric as in, if they talk about crowns, horns, Satan, Lucifer, those are code words that would only be understood by a few. So in that it is esoteric. You needed to know the meaning of the code to talk about it. So let's say there were two in the knowledge of this, yeah? And they had a conversation with each other talking about horns, and there had a third person standing there that was not privy to the code. That third person, trying to ascertain the meaning of what they were saying, would look around himself to look for something with horns. And that in itself, it creates a misdirection. Yeah, you're looking in the wrong place. They're not talking about goats or something with horns. It is a code word. So that for starters. So what is actually being said in the Bible? What is that book? What is it talking about? So the Bible is, for start, a knowledge of cosmic forces. Yeah? In fact, it is a knowledge of two cosmic forces. Bible, two Baals, two masters, two cosmic forces that work on, actually they should work with each other. Yeah? That is what that book is. And then knowing that cosmic forces, that is not something that is created by the cosmos. It is created by every form. And if those are universal forces, then your cactus is exerting those forces. But different forms exert it to a different extent. So what are the two forces? And here is what we have learned through quantum physics of how this actually is. Yeah, or how we think it is now. And that is that everything is pulsating. Yeah? Everything is pulsating. Expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting. That is the knowledge that the scientists that wrote the Bible, that is what they were looking at. They were looking at a knowledge of, that everything exerts forces, and then understanding what exerts a force that would cause a contraction or a restriction, or what would cause an expansion. That's the knowledge of that book. And that is also the knowledge of yourself, because you yourself exert those forces. Now in us, how does this work? In us, thoughts that create contractions or restrictions are mostly of the left hemisphere of our brain. That is logic, that is math, that is science. They cause restrictions. Yeah? Whereas the right hemisphere of our brain, our beautiful imagination, the thought of possibilities, and out of that curiosity, maybe, that will cause an expansion. So that is the knowledge of us. There's a kingdom without and there's a kingdom within. Yeah? And really, it is the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Lord will cause an expansion, or it will cause a contraction or a restriction. And that is done by every form, and somehow it creates order. God only knows how, but it does. If it were natural, it should create order through those two forces. Right, now let's come to the codes they were using and what they were talking about. Satan is the knowledge of that which will exert a force that causes a restriction or a contraction. Then somebody later on created the term Lucifer, which is then code for that knowledge of that which will cause an expansion. Knowledge of something that will cause an expansion. So, and that is the knowledge in that book. The two forces, the two masters, the two forces that are working in the universe. So, if we look at Satan, knowledge of that which will cause a restriction or a contraction. And as I said, it's the left hemisphere of your brain. Yeah, so you have logic. Logic will cause a restriction because you have to work within the framework of logic. Yeah, and it's natural things that naturally exert those forces, or constructs like the law. The law is something that we have constructed, but it exerts a force on the people, and that force is restricting. Yeah. Whereas, and then science, well, for starters, you are restricted by what you know now. Yeah? And if science says, well, this is how it is, again, as the law says, this is how it is, and you can't do no other, then it is restricting. See, science has to leave the door open for the other possibilities in order to start pulsating, in order to expand. And if it doesn't expand, it's becoming oppressive. The law is oppressive if it doesn't allow to, expand or contract. At the moment it is expanding, just it's not expanding for us but for everybody else. Anyway, and then as I said, the other force, that causes expansion, if that goes off on its own, yeah, I mean, it's not restricted by anything. It can just go wherever it likes. But then, you see, it should be restricted by reason, by what you know. It needs to be in relation to something. Whereas in America at the moment, it's going off on its own. Yeah, you can be anything and everything, and it's no longer tied to logic or reason or anything else, or science. So then it becomes destructive. So the two forces have to work with each other. They need to regulate each other, So, yes, have restriction but allow for expansion. Have expansion but only as far as it doesn't destroy the construct you're already in, or not completely destroy it. You might have an expansion and you come back and you modify something because it would be better that way. But as I say, always in relation to each other. So what did the church do? And here's the thing. As I said, the term Lucifer, Satan was the code word for that force, or the knowledge of something that would exert a force that causes restriction. Yeah? And what did the church do with that? Because they understand that. Trust me, they do understand that, because it's been working on us all over the world. So they had their code breakers at that. They gained the knowledge, but they took this term Satan and they created a persona around it. So you're now running scared of a winged horned goat. And here, this is a kicker, it really is. So the church has created this boogeyman, yeah, Satan, and the church is standing there and saying, oh, we are the light, we will save you from Satan, yeah? We have the understanding of this, which sure as hell they have, and just come in here and we will save you from Satan, from the boogeyman. And all you have to do is do exactly according to us, yeah? Do what's right and wrong according to us. Don't go by your own understanding. And as long as you do that and you do as we are telling you, you will be safe from Satan. And in doing that, the church itself is satanic, because it is creating a force. It is creating rules and laws that you must follow. And in that, it is exerting a restricting force on you. So the church itself is what it is claiming it is saving you from. But you can't understand that because you're running with Satan as this winged goat. And you don't understand what that book is actually saying Satan is. It is a knowledge of that which will cause a restricting force. And that is what the church is. It is satanic. Anyway, so, and just coming to the crowns and the horns, as I see it now. And that is, if there's a depiction, let's say, of a beast, well, you would have to ascertain what that beast is, I don't know, but if it's depicted as having 10 horns and 10 crowns, then that means it has got knowledge of 10 things that will exert a force that creates a restriction or a contraction, and it has got the knowledge of 10 things that will exert a force that will work an expansion. And it is using that knowledge on you and on everything else in this world. That is what that means. And see, if Moses is depicted with 2 horns, that means Moses has got the knowledge of 2 things that will cause a restriction. So, I mean, the Hebrews had just gone through a big expansion, freedom, no longer under Egypt. So Moses then had the knowledge of 2 things that would cause a restriction. Or you would maybe say create order, but it is causing a restriction. Now, one of them is definitely the knowledge of how to construct the law. I'm not quite sure what the other one was right now. There must have been another one. So that is what that means. Yeah? And, I mean, at the moment, you can see how this principle of the 2 forces is being used on us. Whereas you had the COVID thing, yeah, which caused a restriction. There was a knowledge of something that would cause a restriction, that would restrict us. And again, when we exert those forces, as I said, it came as a knowledge, a thought, that has been put onto an energy, yeah. So you had the thought of that virus going up, killing everybody, and creating fear, and you put the 2 together. And then again, it's not them just doing it to us. They just put the idea in our head. and create that. But then we keep giving it to one another. We are, given freely to each other. It's us that is in the end spreading it with what we are exerting and impacting on others, our fear, our thought. And again, don't go and think about it yourself, yeah? Just have the higher power give you the knowledge and you run with it and give it to everybody else. So now at the moment we are in a time of where there's a bit of expansion, a bit of freedom, but then of course monkeypox is on its way. So they're using this to direct us into a certain outcome. It really, honest to God, it's like a sheepdog. It's working like a sheepdog. Yeah? If the sheepdog is down, the flock will, go its own way. And then the dog gets up again and causing a restriction in the flock and directing it in a certain direction. It's exactly like that. And my friend had in a video this morning saying how, how religion was given us, stability or something holy that would, have an influence on the powers that be. There's nothing holy about the church. They were the ones that were working that long before the powers that be got a hold of that. But now, apparently, that understanding is everywhere apart from in us. And we're being shepherded by anything and everything. We must start to understand what that book says. It is talking about things that will create the two cosmic forces that either contract or expand. And that it is just the way of the cosmos that everything pulsates. But if you have the understanding of something, what force it actually exerts, like the knowledge of constructing a law, and that construct will exert a restricting force on the people. And if you know about something that will create an expansion, well, I suppose the expansion occurs when the restriction is not there. Let them go for a while and then pull them together again. Let them go for a while, pull them together again. And, it's what the sheepdog does. It directs the flock into a certain direction. And that is exactly what's being done to us right now. And then understand that you yourself are becoming the vehicle. You are the one that is giving it to the next person. It is like a virus. It really is. We are spreading it amongst each other. So here goes. We must really, first of all, understand what that book says, understand how they are using that knowledge, and understand our own participation in what's happening. Because we are the ones that give it to each other. Anyway, I leave it at that for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.